our podcast, Voices Strong El Paso. Today is November 9th, 2019, and our mission is to encourage and foster positive connections in our community while revealing unity and strength in our differences. One discussion, one meal, and one mind at a time. My name is Candace Prince, and today's podcast is focusing on our special guest, Pastor Michael Grady, who will discuss how faith can be a powerful tool for strength and healing in our community. We will also partake in a Mexican beverage called Champurrado, which is a sweet chocolate atole. I'd like to have everyone take a moment to introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Ceci Monarres.
Hi, I'm Jean Laura Padilla.
I'm George Padilla.
I'm Pastor Michael Grady.
Oh, he's got that great voice.
Welcome, Pastor Grady.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking time. I know you're very busy, but just kind of so anybody listening knows, Pastor Michael Grady. I'm Candace, by the way, and the way I found out about this amazing individual is my husband and I, Tony Duenas, we attended a Black Expo. Gosh, was it like over a month ago?
Yes.
Yeah, and so the special guest there was Petard, right?
Yes, General Petard.
General Petard, and he, oh my gosh, he was amazing.
Yes.
But in addition to hearing General Petard speak, Pastor Michael Grady, he was there as well, and I know they did some roundtables, and so he was one of the guests, and that's how I first heard about him, and I heard a lot of wonderful things about him from Monica, who's the one who ran the Black Expo, and so, I mean, as you guys know, based on our other podcasts, I mean, how we began was based on the tragic events of August 3rd. And I did hear that your daughter was one of the victims.
Yes.
She is in the hospital, so she wasn't killed, but luckily she's doing okay. I'm not sure.
Yeah, she's getting much better. Yeah.
And you said August 3rd, and today's date is November 9th.
Gosh,
Yeah, just to give it a time perspective.
Yes.
Yeah. So not only based on you being directly impacted by the events of that horrible day, but also that you're a man of faith.
Yes.
And so I think that's pretty much our mission of this podcast, is to kind of go in that direction about unity and healing. And I think, I mean, those two things combined, I think you're the perfect voice to kind of spread your experiences, but also in regards to faith, about how we could really overcome stuff through compassion rather than violence.
Yes. One of the greatest challenges I had on August the 3rd was I was at home when this terrible incident happened. My wife was at Dillard's, and the phone rang from my wife, and she said, "Michelle has been shot. Make your way to Walmart." And I had not cut the television on. I was sort of clearing my emails, and I had my other daughter, Jacqueline, at home, and I said, "Jackie, we need to get to Walmart. Michelle has been shot." Didn't know what that meant. My wife said she had been shot 3 times, didn't know what that meant, had no idea that there was an active shooter on the site. And so we rushed from our home to Walmart. It took us about maybe 7 minutes or so to get there. And we were just about to go down the entrance to Walmart over the hill, and the police car came and cut us off. And I yelled out of the window, "My daughter's been shot." And he said, "I don't care. You can't go down there."
Oh my God.
And so I went the back way and came in by the movie theater. And then I saw my wife's vehicle parked there. And I parked close to that, and I began to run toward Walmart. Made it to the wall behind Walmart. I was going to go over the wall to try to.
I don't mean to interrupt,
Yes.
but at this point, there was law enforcement was not blocking the back of Walmart.
Well, they were, but I didn't see them because I was incognito. I was moving quickly to get to my wife and to
of course
Michelle, because she had the presence of mind after being shot 3 times to call her mother, and she was calling to say goodbye. And then of course Jen calls me, and we get to the site. She's already with Michelle. She stayed on the phone long enough for my wife to get from Dillard's to the site where Michelle was. Michelle was really shot, the first person shot outside of Walmart, and
She was in the parking lot?
She had finished shopping, and of course she was on her way out. I'm her pastor and her father, so she has a great compassion and empathy. And the soccer team was selling water, and she went to give them a donation. And when she turned around, the shooter was already in front of her. They made eye contact. His weapon had already been drawn. and she began to run. And that's when he started shooting her. He shot her first before he shot the soccer coach. And so the third bullet hit her, and she fell to the ground, and she played dead because the shooter went toward her, possibly to shoot another time. And, of course, she played dead. She held her breath. And he proceeded to go inside of the Walmart, and that's when the carnage actually really began inside the store.
Oh,
and
my
so
God.
I made it to the hill. They wouldn't let me go down the hill, so I had to run back up the road toward, I guess it's Hooters on the corner, and to make that left to go down the hill. And they stopped me at Hooters, but they looked away. And when the police officer looked away, I ran down to the down ramp, and the ambulances were trying to get there to stage and to back down the hill. And so I got down to the bottom of the hill. There was people laying out there who had already been brought. They had received some carts from Walmart, I believe from Sam's, and therefore they were able to get Michelle. It was a Walmart employee. His name was Thomas. I'll never forget. I said, well, he wasn't doubting Thomas, but Thomas helped Michelle get on a cart and where she was shot and bring her toward the staging area. They wouldn't let me go down that way, so I had to look, and I kept looking, and I saw my wife and Michelle coming, being pushed by this gentleman. I didn't know who he was at the time, and bringing her to the staging area to get her loaded on one of the ambulances. Of course, they were prioritizing those particular individuals in level 1, level 2, level 3. And they kind of ignored Michelle. I was a little frustrated. El Paso's a unique place. And the fact that I learned later that the manifesto said that he came to kill Mexicans. Well, Michelle's not Mexican. And she had dreadlocks, and she's an African-American female. And I said to Anderson Cooper when I did the initial interview, bullets don't know a Mexican-American from an African-American or an Anglo. Bullets just do what bullets do. But they were kind of procrastinating. And so my wife and I said, no, we need to get Michelle loaded. So, well, she, one of the ambulance guys, she's not important. I said, well, we kind of blew up then. And he might have said she's not important right now. I don't know. It was just chaotic. And we finally yelled at him, and finally, they realized Michelle had been shot 3 times. Yeah. And then the priority changed, and they finally got her on an ambulance. And they were going to take her, I believe, initially to Del Sol, and then somewhere along the line, it changed to UMC, and we're grateful because the UMC trauma team was excellent. They've done a marvelous job in responding and being available. So I ran back to my car. Jacqueline had her car. Jen had her car. Michelle's car, of course, was still at the crime scene. And so we followed it to the hospital. And even when I got there, and I got to the emergency room, and they said, well, we don't have a black person here that's been shot. And I said, well, yes, you do. Mm-hmm. Well, what's her name? And I said, well, Michelle Elise Grady. And she looked on well, it's not in the computer. I said, well, just because it's not in the computer, my wife was already in the back because she rode with the ambulance. And so the African-American police officer said, oh, I remember those black people coming in here, and he took me in the back. And then we began this long journey that lasted about 53 days.
How is Michelle?
8 surgeries later.
8 surgeries.
And some surgeries still to go. She has a couple of surgeries left. She's doing well in some respects. She still has the wound vac, and the pelvis was shattered, and one of the bullets severed her intestines, so she has a colostomy bag, and her hand was shot, and her leg was shot, and it's just been a journey. But she's a strong black female full of faith, and so she's remarkable. The people around the world. I was in the military for over 20 years. I probably received over 1,000 phone calls from around the world, all the way from Kuwait and Qatar and Germany and Italy and places that we had gone years ago and relationships that we had forged. And so those people sort of undergirded us. And I often say it was like looking down at a situation relative to walking through a situation. And we're sort of hovering over and watching God and faith sort of do what it does. Again, UMC, the trauma team, tremendous, did a tremendous job. They had to call folks in on that day, and they came in and they went to work. They lost some, 24, but Michelle was saved. And people often ask, even Michelle, Dad, why was I saved and others were not? And I said, well, because God has a plan and a purpose for your life, for your witness, and for your testimony about His grace and His sovereignty that people will heal from. And so we've been doing a job of trying to share vision and speak truth to power, to talk about the effects that it had in the city of El Paso. I came here in 1974, left for 30 years and came back in 2004. And when I came back, I noticed things had not changed much as far as bringing the common unity or the community together. There was still this separatist mindset. And I worked very diligently to try to bring folks together. When I first returned in 2004, I ended up pastoring the church that me and my wife got married in 42 years ago.
Oh, my gosh.
And initially, they had about 8 folks there, and I began to get on the phone and move throughout the community. And then I was elected president of the El Paso Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance, tried to bring pastors together, Black pastors, Hispanic pastors, white pastors together to a common table to have a discussion, to have a dialogue about this division that sort of has an impact on our community and really on the nation. And so I've been busy trying to do that continuously. It's hard to get folks to be transparent. El Paso is a very superficial town. It is a missional town by virtue of Fort Bliss. And what I mean by that is that the mission is to pick up the cigarette butts. That's the order that you get from the sergeant major, but you don't have to like the sergeant major. You don't have to know his name. You don't care about how many kids he has or where he lives. It's accomplished, mission accomplished, and you go back to your neutral corners. We have the Black History Parade, and again, that seems to be a Black thing. Then there's Cinco de Mayo, and that's not us, and we can't go there. And so I begin to struggle because I came from a place of division. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, but I was raised in the oldest Black settlement in the United States of America. But I didn't know that then. It's the oldest Black settlement in the United States. So I came out of that place. I was raised in a time and a season. There was a town of probably about bicycle range, probably about a mile from where we were raised. We could go there during the day, but at night we had to leave before nightfall. So I remembered those days, and I had a Black, all of my teachers were Black, the policeman was Black, the mayor was Black, the city council was, and so I saw Anglos, they say here are white folks, up close and personal when I ended up going to Southern Illinois University.
Wow.
And so I came from a different place. And then I was in the military all those years, Greece, Italy, Turkey, Japan, Korea, Germany, St. Louis, California.
I noticed you were even New York, weren't you?
In New York. I started in New York in 1974 at Fort Wadsworth, New Jersey. That no longer exists. That's where the chaplain school was. And then I went from there and came to El Paso, Texas.
Was it to be surrounded by, African Americans, Black people, and then all of a sudden with the Anglos, was it like a culture shock?
Not for me.
And even El Paso with Mexicans, was it?
When I got to El Paso, I landed in 1974. I looked out the window. There was some I don't know what they call those things that rolled. They look like
tumbleweeds.
Tumbleweeds. I looked out of the window and I said, "Why are they taking me to the desert? This is supposed to be a military, assignment." And I said, "Well, what are we getting?" I didn't know. I didn't know. I was exposed to African Americans and Anglos in basic training. I remember saying to someone just recently when we had to go into the gas chamber, to prove and test our gas protective masks. We were all black, and I'm like, and then they said, "Take your mask off." And I looked next to the guy. I said, "They finna kill us in this. How come we're the only one taking our masks off?" But we made it through the gas chamber, and of course, and so no, I've never been exposed to the concept of prejudice. Never was a part of our appetite. My parents were Christians. I started preaching at I was 12 years old.
I saw that.
I've been preaching for 53 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Impressive.
And so I've met people where they are, and I'm excited today to be able to really talk about healing. I just went before the Texas Senate, I think it's 2 weeks ago at UTEP, and that was one of the questions that they asked about healing the city and whether or not we can heal from this. We have T-shirts now that say El Paso Strong. Yeah. And I said to the Senate, we'll see.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Was that Senator Rodriguez
there was like
UTEP?
9 senators there.
Oh, yeah.
All of them from Austin. They were.
Yeah, it was a work day. I was hoping to go to that, but ended up having to work. But that was that would have been an interesting conversation to experience.
Very nice.
You said that you had gathered a bunch of other pastors and ministers, and so what has that been like? I mean, do they all agree on what direction things should go, or is there?
Well, that was then. These days, it's hard to get pastors to sit down at a common table and have a conversation. And I often say that's because of egos and logos and titles. Oh, my. We can't get past ourselves in this season. We're the most educated people in the world. We've gone to college and university and seminary. And those things have been divisive and dividing instead of bringing us together in unity. And so now the guy who's just a preacher looks at the elder, and the elder looks down at the preacher, and then the elder he's outranked by the bishop, and the bishop looks down at the elder, and then the bishop is outranked by the apostle, et cetera, et cetera. Then our denominations have divided us, and so we're Baptist today, and we're Methodist, and we're Catholic, and we're Lutheran, but there is no real common unity. Though the book is common, there's some simple things that bind us together. But and I often say that faith works well until I wrap my religion around it. And my religion will allow me to keep you in slavery for 420 years and go back for an afternoon service after we've hung 3 Negroes. Yeah. So religion is divisive, and it has not yielded us the kind of common unity in the nation where we can have a tangible impact on relationship. I ask people in El Paso all the time, have you ever had a conversation with an African American? And most of them say no. Oh, they work with them. Hey, good morning. But that's the end of that. They don't really take the time to get to know you. And when African Americans come here by virtue of Fort Bliss and they go to the mall, they're looking and say, oh, there's one more. See, we're not alone. We're not in government. Amen. We're not in, there are 50 committees in this city that have no African-American representation. When they put the Conquistador out at the airport, they didn't call us. When they named the team the Chihuahuas, they didn't ask us. And that's okay. But we need to understand that something's broken. That's not normal that you would ignore a whole group of folks.
You know, I do have to say that when my husband, Tony, he does a lot of the audio video for stuff with Monica, and he knows Monica well. I guess they've known each other for a long time, but he said Monica had extended an invitation for me to come, and I thought, okay, well, I don't know her, but that was really sweet. And so I went to the Black Expo, and I was the minority there.
Yes, I saw you.
Yeah, you couldn't miss me. And so, I mean, but even coming from Corpus Christi to here, you know, it's mainly Hispanic, you know, and you know, I'm one of the few white people, but I'd never been to anything like that. Yeah. And you know, I just thought, you know, I don't know what an expo is. I'm just going to go and listen, and then we'll leave and we'll go home and whatever. And when I left, I couldn't stop talking about the community that was felt there. It was like a family. Sure. And I was moved, I was touched. But it was something that they uplifted each other in such a beautiful way. And it's General Petard, right?
Yes.
General Petard had such great advice about we need to uplift our Black brothers and sisters. I mean, you need to take care of yourself. You need to take care of your health. You need to take care of your finances. We need to help each other. And he gave all this advice, and it was amazing. But what even touched me at the very end was when everybody was asked to stand up. You know what I'm talking about? Everybody was asked to stand up and say, are you a business owner? And share what business you own and run, so that we can help support you.
Yes.
And then if you're running for office, stand up and tell all of us what office you're running for, so that we can support you, and that you could be a leader within your community. And they were uplifting and encouraging each other to do these things. And I thought, I've never been to anything like that. I've never seen that kind of love, like in that way, that like community. That was really, really amazing.
Yeah, it happens every Sunday all over the world. But the sad thing is that there's a benediction, and we go back to business as usual. There was a 1,000,000-man march. There was 1,000,000 men, but they went back to their communities and sat down. And so those moments are far and few between. They appear to be something. But as I said, we're El Paso strong, but we'll see. And I have not yet seen the continuity, the consistency of those kind of relationships emerging out of this pain. Yes, I went down to the memoriam. I did a couple of interviews at the memorial site. And the guy, they were from England, and they said, Pastor Grady, what do these flowers and all of this stuff mean? I said, well, it means to me, it's just about death, because those flowers are cut and they will die. But Michelle means life, and she will live. And so we've gotten used to the death, the stench. Eventually those flowers will leave. Eventually Walmart will open up again and give out some cookies and juice. And eventually we'll go back to business as usual. Although this individual came into the city of El Paso, drove for some 900 miles. He had to eat. He had to go to the bathroom. He had to get some gas. But hatred drove him. And that hatred was fed at the highest levels of government in the nation. And nobody spoke out. Nobody speaks out because we're cowards. We have 4 C's in our ministry, and the first one's courage, competence, commitment, and consistency. And I see every Sunday the first C is wearing us out. We're just like the cowardly lion. We've allowed our positions in life, amen, to silence us, our fear of losing our job or our position or our friends. There's a picture that was sent to me sometime in February of a lynching. And it was Anglos around at the base of the tree where they had lynched this African-American, and he had his kids with him, and they were looking up at the lynching, and the guy was dead by then, and they were smiling. We've learned to smile, but that's real. And one of the things I teach is transparency. So in building the kind of coalition that you guys are doing here, hopefully people will get tired of hiding out, because we are our brother's keeper. We are responsible for one another to model consistently faith in a way that people are attracted to it. I've been around this table for about 20 minutes, and I can tell you I'm attracted to each one of you. No strings attached, because I'm relational. The city is missional. The kingdom is relational. And until we as men and women of faith can model one of the greatest texts in the whole Bible, when I was with the Senate, the Texas Senate, I said, let me tell you a quick story. John the Baptist was in prison about to be beheaded, and he sent his disciples to go ask Jesus, is he the one, or should the believers look for another? And Jesus could have said, well, yeah, go tell John I'm the man. It's okay for him to die and leave the scene and tell him I said, good job. But he said, no, go tell John what you see and what you hear. And until what we see and hear matches, not only in common unity, but in the nation, nothing is really going to change. There are too many hiding places. There are too many places where you can throw a rock and hide your hand, when you can go into a booth now and vote, amen. Say you're going to do this and do that. Even the way we elect officials in this country is based on a promise that they don't have to fulfill. Yep. At least 4 years, we can mess your world up. Mm-hmm. So we have failed to hold each other accountable. One nation under God. We're so far under mm-hmm. that it appears that there is no God.
It's all just
And what you were talking about, the lynching picture, and then they're smiling and not speaking out, or having the courage to speak out a fear of losing a friendship, or for the mere fact of just being cordial. Yes. You don't want to shake the boat. You don't want to cause any problems. And that was part of the reason why we started this group and this Voices Strong El Paso. The podcast was try to heal and do away with the division and bring forth conversation, bring people together. It's not going to work for everybody. Not everybody can go go into a conversation and come out of it. Well, I'm closer now, and we've healed, and there's always going to be a division, and that's what I had a hard time personally. Me personally, I've become. I was already this way, and I've even more so after that August 3rd event. And I've become unapologetically opinionated, and my voice. I'm gonna say things sometimes without a filter, and I'm gonna talk about. My wife can attest to this. And when they say, "Well, you don't talk about politics or religion at the table at dinner," that's me now. I'm talking about these things because they need to be talked about. You can't just brush things under the table and then just continue. In society, we cannot continue. We cannot progress, is what I'm trying to say. We cannot progress as a society without speaking these things. And personally, I'm not speaking for everybody in this group with the person that's in the White House, but that brushing under the table, that not willing to speak out, or we just don't talk about those things around so-and-so has led us to that. And the things that have come to that, the image and the character saying that type of character or that type of speak or that type of division or hate at that level has become normal. People are not shocked anymore when he says things or does things in a negative light. I mean, I don't. How does society progress from that? How do we fix that? If we've gotten to this point where somebody's making fun of a cripple or says I can go shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and no one's going to bat an eye, and they're still supported.
That's the cowardice you were talking about.
Exactly. I was just going to say that. Mm-hmm. That's the cowardice of not speaking out. And I don't know, when I'm in conversations at work or family or friends, I know it bothers them, but I cannot allow myself anymore to just be, no, wait, shh, we got to be, and in my culture, Mexican culture, like my mother, she used to no, you just don't say things. You just don't talk about those things around people. Not anymore. I don't care anymore. Yeah. I got to this level. And it's kind of, it feels really free. Yeah. Like I freed myself, and I don't have that burden of how do I explain it? I don't have anything weighing me down or zippering my lips shut from saying something and speaking with it after the fact in the car with my wife. Like, well, God, I should have said this, or I can't believe no, I'm saying it right then and there now. And that I'm maybe hypocritical. Maybe I'm causing division by doing that. But at the same time, I kid you not, guys, I feel so much more freer.
I think it depends on how you do it. Like if you're aggressive towards someone, like no,
I don't know. Am I?
Sometimes you are, but it's with people that need to be
out of frustration. I'm sure on your part, you're frustrated.
Oh yeah. Yeah, frustrated. And I don't think I've lost anybody close.
No.
I think some of them appreciate that willingness to do that too. Just like the pastor said, having the courage to do it. I didn't have that courage for a long time, because in my culture, it's like, okay, you just when so and so's right, you just don't bring it up. Just don't, to avoid any kind of unease. You just I'm sorry.
Don't rock the boat.
Right. I'm sorry that you're comfortable is more important than progressing as a family, as a society, or even just a friendship. We just can't continue like that. And we've gotten I don't know. It feels like these times we're in a powder keg kind of atmosphere.
I mean, I know why we started this group is to have more compassion and more community, regardless of the color of your skin, your gender, whatever, your religion, your political affiliation. But like for someone like you, Pastor Grady, who has traveled all over the world, literally all over the world, you know, you're a man of faith. Obviously, you started when you were 12. And based on what has happened to your family recently, what have you found? I mean, you said we'll see if El Paso is strong. What do you think the solution for all this is? Like, how can listeners and us at this table, how can we make a difference? I think we're all just trying to find our way. And I'm sure there's more than one right answer, but what do you find?
Well, the guy that's in the White House is really us without conscience.
Mm-hmm.
We may not speak it out loud, but that's who we are, our greater demons. Remember, the last part of enemy is me, inner me, inner me, inner me.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've created an environment in this nation where things have been done. It's like the one who finally gets to the place of faith, and he hears that there is a judgment of God to some degree. That, God doesn't just want you to go through life. He wants you to progress. And so he takes his time and he moves a little further away from his faith, and he looks to see if anything happens, and nothing happens. And he goes a little further and nothing happens. And he goes a little further. And after a while, he says, what judgment? What judgment? Because we've allowed ourselves to believe that as long as we've got our stuff, that God is pleased with us. And so we've lived in a world, and we've come from a place where there were probably some good white folks, they used to say back in the day, that was against slavery and what the atrocities that happened to African Americans, but they just never spoke up. There were people around the table when Madeleine O'Hare took prayer out of school, but they kept their mouth shut for political expediency. And so we've learned to see things and not see things, especially if it's going to cause us to lose something that we value. But the most important thing that we can value is our conscience. And so what do we do with our conscience? We drink it away. We drug it away. We sleep it away. So the one thing that we can do, again, is become proactive in life, proactive in creating opportunities for dialogue, honest dialogue, not covered up in religion and tradition, honest dialogue, that when things are not well with us, be able to have a safe place to speak those things. Because the people who don't care, when they ask me about common sense gun legislation, I said, well, the people that are going to commit crimes with weapons don't care how much legislation you write. Mm-hmm. Amen. So, and the people that will never do that are not even paying attention to gun legislation. So we have to find a way of impacting lives, one life at a time, to go to find somebody to travel along with us on the road. Dr. King said, if I can help somebody as I pass along, and if I can cheer somebody with a word or song, if I can tell somebody they may be traveling wrong, then my living will not be in vain. So the people of God are not all sitting behind pulpits in some marble stained glass window building. They're around the table now. Mm-hmm. And so it takes courage to hear something and do something. As I said before, most of the pastors and ministers and elders and apostles and all of those titles that I know are just afraid to speak truth to power. They care more about their salaries than they do the people of God.
That's discouraging.
They care more about their position in life. And you know that song, "Don't Rock the Boat." I mean, they don't rock. Right. I heard that in the military. You know, the commander, he may have known of some atrocity, but he wanted to make major. And then he wanted to make lieutenant colonel. Then he wanted to make full bird colonel. He'll sell his soul. Amen. And so we've sold our soul for money and for power and privilege. And the least, the lost, the left out, the disenfranchised have no voice. That's why tent cities occur. Mm-hmm. Because the first tent that they put up, nobody said, what are you doing that for? Then the second tent showed up. Then the third tent showed up. And after a while, like, oh, well, que sera,
Right.
whatever will be, will be. And so what we do is we dismiss our own consciousness for fear. It takes courage
That's exactly
to see a thing and
Right.
to
Speak
know that
up.
the thing is, yes, and to speak up.
That's exactly, but I mean, it's related to food, but you were
Yes.
saying like, even the way your body reacts to certain things, it becomes the norm, even though you're not healthy.
Sure.
You're like, well, I'm still like I've always been. So
least I'm alive.
everything must be okay, only to find out you have a 98% blockage, and it's like, if you don't know, if your norm is not healthy, but that's your norm, you don't know what the opposite of that is. So I think part of the problem is that some people are being raised to be greedy and selfish people and very tribal, like they only stick with their own. But I think sometimes it's also that there's a lot of ignorance, like people aren't paying attention to what's going on.
I used to believe that.
You don't think so?
No, ma'am. I taught at Mama Bible Institute in Farmingdale, New Jersey for 10 years. We graduated students every year. There was a 2-year advanced course that gave you a Master's of Divinity degree. I used to ask my students, why are you here? They said, well, we want to learn more about the Bible. I said, well, what have you done with the little bit of Bible you know? They said, nothing. So you're going to take 4 years, a 2-year advanced course to get some sheepskin to do nothing. So it's not information. I used to believe information was the key. Because they told black folk, go to college, you knackers, get some education, and everything is going to be all right. Go to school. We went to school, but we were still denied the job. You come to El Paso.
Right.
I've lost a lot of good folks out of our church because they can't find a job here because someone said bilingual preferred. I said, have them to put that in writing so I could take it to the Supreme Court. Nobody will write it down. So it's a myth. It's a legend that has no validity. So I used to think education. And I said that we're the smartest fools in the world. Because the Bible said the fool has said in his heart there is no God, not in his intellect. His heart. What do you do? What has to happen for a 35-year-old male to molest a 5-year-old child successfully? He has to change the image of the child in his mind. That's not real. What has to happen for a man to hang another man and castrate him, cut his fingers off and give it to his children? He has to change the image of that human into something that will allow him to do that which tickles his flesh, which satisfies his...
Doesn't see him as a human anymore.
Correct. And if I can do that, then I can blow your brains out.
Yeah.
See, and I think you make a good point. Just because somebody is educated does not mean they're not ignorant.
Right. That's
You
correct.
can, you can have a PhD, you can have several PhDs and still be ignorant.
Yes. Yeah.
What I'm noticing though within society is people aren't following what's going on. Things are just slipping through. Laws are being passed, and it's like, look over here. And then everybody's like, oh, I'm going to go do this and entertainment, whatever. And then it's like, oh, by the way, this is a new law. And everybody's like, when did that happen?
Right. Because,
Well, look, we just had here in El Paso, we just had on November 5th a election. 7% of registered voters was our turnout.
Why aren't people voting? I think some people don't even know the votes are happening. I don't.
The reason people are not voting is because they voted in the past and nothing's changed.
They're frustrated.
The scripture says, because iniquity will abound, the love of many will wax cold. People are just tired. They know people are put in office on rhetoric. And I think that we need to pass a law in this country that says if you are elected on what you say, you have 2 years tops. And if you don't do those things in 2 years, you got to go. But we allow people to sit in and then get reelected to do nothing.
Reelected.
There's no accountability.
We don't hold our neighbors accountable. We don't hold each other accountable.
We don't even say hi
we don't
to our
even know our
neighbors.
neighbors.
I know.
Right.
And because again, our neighbors are people that we think must agree with us. But no, there's great health in disagreement and dialogue because it tells us where we are and if we need to go to a better place to give us an opportunity. So they're not voting. I've been preaching every Sunday, go register, go vote. I'm trying to get people to help with the 2020 census. And Pastor Grady, ain't nobody going to vote. Vote for what? We voted and look what we have. We didn't vote and look what we have. So until something happens on the grassroots, the local level, we're building these coalitions and relationships until we turn down these walls and build some bridges. When I was the president of the NAACP, I linked up with LULAC.
Yeah.
Ray Penn, the president and the vice president and the national president came and we're friends. And I said to the NAACP, we're going to join with LULAC. And you know what they told me? We don't want no Mexicans in our NAACP. So guess what? Pastor Grady resigned.
Wow.
I was installed in January. I resigned in April. Because if that's your attitude, now we're the oldest branch in the state of Texas. And I said during the time I was running for president, Austin and Dallas ought to be looking to us for leadership, not the other way around. But we've lost our ability to engage with people that are different. We could have had a great opportunity to move this city. When I was president of the Ministers Alliance, John Cook was in office, and I would convene other pastors on the 10th floor of City Hall, and we would pray around the table.
Wow.
I did that for 7 years, but then my time was up. And what the benediction happened. One of the greatest stories is that Jesus was on the top of the Mount of Transfiguration, and he was being validated by his Father with Peter, James, and John took him up there, and they were having a great time. And when he came down the hill, there was a lunatic waiting on him at the bottom of the hill. And they said, we brought this lunatic to your disciples while you were up there doing whatever you do, and they could not do anything for him. And the text says Jesus sighed. Bring the boy to me. And he healed the boy, turned to his disciples and says, how long do I have to be with you? You couldn't do this thing? So something's happened to us in this nation, in this world, that we are helpless to help ourselves. We're afraid to say, what's your name? I was coming to visit someone in the hospital, and I was at Del Sol at the park on the 5th floor, and I was coming down the elevator, and I was by myself, and then there was an Hispanic lady came on the elevator. And I watched her. She came in, and her purse was like normal purses. She saw me, and this is what she did. Grabbed her purse as if I was going to rob her and rape her. And I wanted to say something, but the Spirit told me to be quiet. She knows no better. She's been taught that. Remember, most of our teaching is by precept and example. Paul says the letter kills, but the Spirit makes it alive. So what we see sometimes is more important than what we hear. And I want to ask her, who told you? She didn't know. I didn't have no clergy collar on. I'm a pastor. I could have tried to defend myself. But the reality is that all over the world, people have been programmed to believe things based on what they see happening. Mm-hmm. It's not what they know, it's what they see. And so when I asked someone recently about this dialogue with African Americans, the guy that's helping our family through the one fund, his name is Sanjay, a good friend of mine. And he said, well, Pastor Grady, and he speaks Spanish. He said, Hispanics are afraid of African Americans. I said, why? He said, because of the movies and TV and what they hear in the news. Really? People would value something that other than over and above beginning to establish relationships. I said, I've never heard that, but I guess I was just being naive. We weren't born that way.
I think our mission with this group is for
expose
us.
the darkness and offer the light. Yeah.
And I mean, also even for us at the table, it's not like we know we have all the answers. So I think we could start with our neighbors, the people we bump into at the grocery store. I mean, like you said, it's one person at a time.
It's a long process.
Even when I went to the Black Expo, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm I'm the only like white person, and everybody was so nice to me. Everybody was so accommodating, and it wasn't like I was an outsider.
Yeah.
Like everybody was so sweet, you know. And I remember that made an impact on me.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing that happened. It has to be real and consistent.
That was my wife coming into my family.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It was kind of a culture shock for her.
Yeah.
It was. I was not used to the closeness of a Hispanic family and the loudness and the amount of people that gathered at gatherings.
It's a different culture.
Yeah.
It is, and I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, and it's and you talked about the movies. Why are they afraid? Well, because the movies taught them that, the TVs taught them that, and we feel it the same way. I mean, even back early films, and I forget the filmmaker's name. He did The Birth of a Nation, and he also did The Alamo.
Yes.
In The Alamo, just from that, there was a lot of negative view of Hispanics after that Alamo movie came out. It was a silent film, but you had it was white actors, but they would paint themselves as Mexicans, as the Mexican soldiers. And they got the history all wrong in the movie, but out of that came hatred for Mexicans. So Pastor Grady, thank you for being here today. I do. In our statement, we do talk about a meal. We don't have a meal today, but we do have a beverage, and some of you have already tasted it. It's in front of you. And meals, beverages bring people together, and I hope that
all
helps
kinds
us.
of beverages.
Yeah, all kinds of beverages, right? But the beverage you have in front of you is Champurrado. So it's cold now. Well, El Paso, when it gets 70, we break out our jackets. So that's freezing to us at night. Get the extra blanket out, and but this is like a hot chocolate type of drink, but its history comes from the Mayan and the Aztecs. So before it used to be like a lime type of drink. It didn't used to be sweet. Later on, they started adding sugar cane, like a brown sugar cane, and it became champurrada. So I remember this growing up here.
Champurrado.
So, I'm sorry, champurrado. Because I was thinking of the atole, the A in the atole. So it's a type of atole, but a sweet atole. So that drink, I remember growing up drinking it with at my tia Tina's house. So this is my mom didn't make it, but my aunt always made it, and it just smelled up the whole kitchen, and it was fantastic. So it is
a little thick. So if you want to add a little bit of water and mix it in, then
so let me know your reactions.
So Ceci, you know about it. You haven't talked much. Tell us about
Ceci, speak.
I'm just absorbing everything. I'm enjoying
taking notes.
Yep.
Did you grow up drinking it?
I did grow up drinking it. I do like it. It's not my favorite, but I do like it.
That's good.
I always drank it during the holidays.
Yeah.
It's always been like around Christmas.
It's not Mexican eggnog then.
Yeah, pretty much. They also have like the calientitos. That's the one you like spike it, like a fruit, like the fruit drink.
It's
But
good.
anyway,
So,
champurrado.
you're talking about making it better than
Maybe next time we could do
Yeah.
the calientitos. But no, champurrado is pretty good. Normally you eat it with or drink it with like
Buñuelos.
buñuelos. Yeah.
Is that the sweetbread?
No,
Yeah.
it's that crispy.
Well, it's like
It's a big, flat, fried.
Oh,
you
okay.
could break
It's
it
like a
over
churro,
the
but
pieces.
flat.
Yeah.
Cinnamon on it?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Cinnamon
Right.
sugar.
Gene, you did a good job.
Yeah.
See,
It
Yeah,
is
that's
so
very
my
good.
wife made this from scratch.
Oh,
It was
thank
cinnamon.
This was my first ever try, so it's okay if it's not good.
No, it is very good.
It is good. It tastes like my
tastes
Tina's. What
authentic.
what are the ingredients?
Okay, put me on the spot here.
If you remember.
It's a corn flour, water, abuelita's chocolate,
Piloncillo.
piloncillo. Yes, you have to have piloncillo.
Piloncillo.
Piloncillo. That's right. The first L is one L. It's the little cone sugar, the sugar cone. That's
It's like brown sugar.
delicious.
Yeah, that cone sugar.
Delicious.
When she was cutting it, when she was making it, this morning. I grabbed a piece and I ate it. It's like a flood of memories came back because they used to sell these on the bridge when you crossing the bridge, and there was a long wait. So we'd go to Juarez and we'd come back and we'd buy these. You'd either get a sugar cane or that cone thing. You just eat it straight up. Eat it. And that was our snack in the car.
The look on his face, I knew that the memories were coming flooding
I was
back.
just like, oh my God, I remember this as a
like
kid.
Ratatouille.
So it's pretty
really
neat.
good.
And milk. It has milk also.
Is that cinnamon?
So we would line up.
Clove?
It's cinnamon sticks and anise. You make you steep that in water, the cinnamon stick and anise, and then you take those out, and then you add in the corn flour, the milk,
and you drink it by itself.
Like that.
It's
sugar.
It's like a thick sugar
Or if,
and a chocolate.
or if you're sassy, you spike it with something.
Not good.
No, but would you drink this with a meal, or is it just by itself? Or like hot
Probably with
chocolate?
dessert.
Like a
More
dessert.
dessert.
Or like a
That's what
dessert?
we were talking about,
Okay.
the buñuelo. It's like that. Like
Flat
a crispy,
churro.
yeah, with sugar and cinnamon.
Wow.
Sugar cinnamon pastry.
So this
I
would
wouldn't be able to drink this with a meal.
This was a winter, Christmas, like Ceci said, Christmas time kind of
Yeah.
treat.
Okay, yeah.
So it's getting cold. It's November.
Like eggnog for the
Yes.
traditionalists.
Yeah.
So I thought it'd be a good drink to share.
Oh, that's what it's made out of.
Oh yeah, and
She's
Ceci
got
brought
some
some sweet pastries.
I'm rattling too much.
No, it's okay.
He's pulling it out of the package, and it's oh my God, that looks good.
This is
It's all right.
apricot walnut rugula.
Say that again.
Apricot,
It's an
walnut,
apricot walnut rugula.
arugula.
Oh my gosh. See, I can. If you keep stuff like this coming, I could talk to you guys all day. Talk about unity. I don't know how anybody could be divisive with a meal like sweets and a drink.
We
But
just need to talk more, be compassionate, and have some food.
Right?
right,
Food makes people happy.
right.
Yes.
Really. I'd
Yeah.
love to come to your church sometime, by the way.
You're welcome to come.
Yeah.
It's not mine, but you're welcome.
wanna-
I'm just a
okay.
caretaker.
I would like to go.
Come on, hang out with a
Oh,
brother.
wow. And do you want to tell us the name?
Prince of Peace Christian Fellowship, 2155 Wedgewood Drive, El Paso, Texas, 79925. Love to see your face in the place.
Nice. God, you have a radio voice.
Perfect.
His voice is just
I
fantastic.
can't express how much we appreciate you taking the time out of your day and sharing with us your experiences and being so open with us. We appreciate your knowledge and everything you brought to us. And we wish all the best for your daughter, Michelle, and your family.
Thank
We
you.
do. We do.
Yes.
I'm excited that you would have me come. I'd like to come again anytime. I'd like to come
Fantastic.
and share.
Sounds good.
And just for a plug
Yes.
for Pastor Michael Grady, he's going to be doing his own podcast.
Yes. I do a vlog now called The Liberation of the Soul. And it's every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
I could put the link down on our
8
website so
o'clock.
people could find
It's
it.
on Facebook. Just put The Liberation of the Soul and my face will pop up.
Awesome.
And we can
Nice.
have a dialogue.
Fantastic.
All right. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you for
you so much.
for
being our guest.
the drink and the pastry.
You're very welcome.
And I must get back to business. The work goes on.
Right.
Oh, we all-
Always.
Not yet. Let me just say bye. Thank you, everybody.
Bye,
And
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
That is